Hey, good afternoon. It's Professor B. I'm recording this on Tuesday, the 2nd of September. I hope everybody had a good Labor Day weekend. Um, we were up in Dallas hanging out with my sister and some other friends doing a burger burn on the patio. So I hope everybody had a good, restful holiday, good 3 day weekend to start the semester. So, what I want to do today, and this will be a very brief lecture, I want to showcase your first paper assignment. Again, as you have noted in the syllabus, I try to include a low stakes assignment early in the semester to give you an opportunity to do a little bit of historical research and writing. And this is and to get a sense of how I grade and what I'm looking for in terms of your paper submission. So let me go through this, and then, of course, as questions come up, please don't hesitate to reach out. So, in the first few chapters, you've been introduced to sort of the pre-contact Texas, as well as the arrival of a variety of European powers, notably the Spanish and the French, into the geography of what we know as Texas. And so, this first short paper assignment is going to ask you to pick an indigenous group so that that existed within the geography of what we know as Texas. I just posted a couple of PDFs of chapters from some historical versions of a Texas history textbook, one from 1921 and another from 1954. And so, what I'd like you to do is sort of start off by reading each of those two older versions and compare with what you have read in Crosswords of North America, because it's always interesting to get a sense of how historical narratives and topics shift over time. So, as you read through these, again, with an eye towards Native American groups, I'd like you to take notes and note similarities and differences between the textbooks, the historical textbooks from 1921 and 54, as well as the one that you're currently reading. And so you're going to pick one group, an indigenous group situated within the geography of Texas, that you can use to interpret indigenous history both before and after the arrival of Europeans. You're going to research that group and using sources, put their experience into historical context. So for this assignment, this first assignment, I'm going to ask you to find three sources. One of them is going to be an academic source beyond your textbook. The other is going to be the historical textbooks that I've provided to you as PDFs, and then your textbook itself, right? Crossroads of North America. So you're going to prepare a bibliography of the sources that you use and in-text citations within the body of your paper. And so, what are you going to turn in? This is what are the big questions for the assignment? This is again is a short paper, a relatively short paper assignment. It's one page, single spaced. And within that, I'd like you to answer these two broad sets of questions. One is to describe the indigenous group that you've selected. What does this Native American group's history look like before European arrival? And then how do interactions with Europeans impact that particular tribal group? Second, what are two major differences in how Indigenous peoples are portrayed in the historical textbooks that I've provided, the 1921 and 1954, and the current version of your textbook? So, how does your group sort of serve to illustrate those differences in the historical textbooks as well as the current version? And I'm going to give you a grade out of 10 possible points. So, the best score that you can receive for this assignment is a 10 out of 10. Bottom line, what are you going to turn in? Again, this is a one page single spaced write up. that addresses the questions that I just reviewed, including citations within each paragraph, whether you directly quote material, and for this assignment, I'm asking you not to include any direct quotes. I'd like all of the information to be paraphrase of ideas and information that you can call from the sources that I've provided to you, as well as those that you locate. And at the conclusion of your page of this one page, a brief bibliography or works cited, whatever you want to call it, all three of the sources that you use, that you employ to be able to answer the questions that I have provided. And so, just a quick reminder, when you pull information from sources, you need to include, I'm asking you to include a short parenthetical citation at the end of each of the paragraphs within your response. If you don't include both an in text citation and a list of sources of bibliography at the end, you won't get higher than a C, so a 7 out of 10 for this assignment. But this rule will apply, or this guidance will apply for future assignments as well. And so we're going to keep this really simple and straightforward. Short parenthetical cites within the text of your write-up, within your answers, just the author, comma, title, and within parentheses at the end of each paragraph for the source or sources that you use, as well as, again, a list of a bibliographical list, a works cited list at the end of your write-up after you've completed it. Again, not just hyperlinks. I shouldn't have just URLs that are included, but you need to clearly identify and name the author and title of the source that you are using. And I will provide a general admonishment about using online sources. It is best to avoid lockstep, all in all cases, sort of generic encyclopedia style entries like Wikipedia or Encyclopedia Britannica, which don't tend to include great information about that give you research help, right, for the topics that you're investigating. So I'm going to ask you to go above and beyond that to look for much better sources. And so I wanted to give you some examples of good sources. Online sources can be good. There's no, I won't give you a blanket admonishment against online sources, but they should show you their work. If you go to a web page and don't see, they're not providing you with references and footnotes and citations themselves, and you don't get a sense of where that author that prepared that web page that is pulled their information from, what sources they consulted, that should serve as a big red flag, right? So sources, some sources have bias, and this can be across the spectrum. But you want to make sure that the sources that you're consulting for purposes of for this assignment and for future assignments are come from academics, right, or written by historians in the case of this class, or others that follow historical methods and practices. And so here are some examples of places that you can go to consult. The UTSA library has a quick search to be able to give you access to a lot of online books and other articles, right, journal entries, content that might be relevant to this assignment. Let's say if you're researching the Comanche, for example, you could certainly, that certainly would point you to books on the history of the Comanche within the geography of Texas. There's a great history research guide within the library that lists a number of sources, including American History and Life, and JSTOR that you can consult. So I would encourage you to go to each of these to see what kind of information you can find. There's a specific research guide for Texas history for our course, in essence. that includes a number of links to research databases that are on point for researching topics related to Texas history. The other online source that I would tell you I would advise you to look at is the Handbook of Texas Online. This is a set of short entries in history write-ups that are prepared by historians that are affiliated with the Texas State Historical Association. So you will see for example, entries about the Comanche or the Apache or other groups, indigenous groups that happen to fall within the historical geography of Texas. And then one last admonishment, I think I've talked about this previously, but I just want to make sure that for purposes of this assignment, I'd like you to find secondary sources, right? Primary sources would include newspaper articles that are written by folks that are living through historical events in real time. For example, somebody writing about the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in December of 1941. That would be a primary source. Correspondence. Sometimes people keep journals. All examples of primary material that are produced by historical actors. I'm asking you to consult secondary material, right? Textbooks, um, uh, uh, historical monographs, right? Books that are written by historians about the history of Texas, journals, right, that are written by historians about the history of Texas. And to add one more potential source that you could consult, the Texas State Historical Association has a journal called the Southwestern Historical Quarterly. You can find a link to that within the Texas History Research Guide, as well as just by Googling Southwestern Historical Quarterly. You can get access to current and historical issues of that. And again, it's a great, well researched and documented journal that are produced by historians that are interested in writing about historical events in groups, including indigenous groups, associated with the geography of Texas. That is it for today. So I hope that overview is helpful. I will post this up as I have before to this week's Canvas module. Thanks for your kind attention. And as you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Take care.